Well, good morning, folks. This is going to be a fantastic podcast because I'm with an old friend, Cath Sutherland. You're going to find some very interesting things out about Cath. We're talking about leading our best life, not just in life, but business. Cath, welcome to this podcast.
Thanks for having me, Lee. It's great to be here. Looking forward to this.
Mate, you had your tooth out the other week, so you're feeling way better?
Yeah, much better. It knocked me for a 6, though.
Yeah, mate, crazy.
Unbelievable.
Maintenance. Well, that's part of what we're talking about here is life maintenance, business maintenance. But Cath, look, straight away, one of the things you gave me quite a while ago now is your fantastic book, Creating Brand Energy, how to transform your business energy into market power. So we'll get into that as we move forward. And this, I call you the queen of visual because this book, folks, is so visual. Every page is like a work of art, let alone the content in it. Just fantastic. But Cath, let's talk about the Cath Sutherland story. Where has Cath Sutherland come from, evolved from?
Cath Sutherland's vision is to foster corporate integrity. And that came from me growing up on a farm in Boynup. I'm the youngest of 6. I had 4 older Bolshe brothers.
Bolshe brothers?
Very Bolshe brothers.
What does Bolshe brothers mean? What does that look like or sound like or feel like?
Well, what that looks like is me always being the Indian in the Cowboys and Indians and always being tied up at the stake and pretended to be shot or scalped or something. So with, growing up on a farm, that really gave me a sense of adventure. And with the 4 brothers, it also helped me become really strategic because I couldn't beat them in muscle or strength. So I had to plot, plan and scheme behind the scenes and think, how can I get back at these brothers for, having a go? And I think also on a farm, you learn, feeding calves and looking after animals, and everyone's got a job on a farm, and you grow up being really responsible and accountable and really looking at, what needs to be done and just getting in there and doing it. But, the Bolshe brothers certainly stood me in good stead for when as a female going into business and working in the old corporations where, you had the old traditional style managers that used to, bang the desk and, throw tantrums, and I'd just be sitting there laughing, whereas other women would be cowering because, I had that upbringing. So it made me confident and independent, I guess. Then when I was 13, my mum and dad sold the farm and they bought a motel in Bunbury across the road from the beach.
Wow.
So that was good for my teenage years, being close to friends, because on a farm, you've got to get your mum to drive you anywhere if you want to, your closest friend 7 kilometres away or whatever. So that was great. But as a kid growing up in Bunbury, I just knew that my life wasn't in Bunbury. So I had the philosophy as a teenager growing up that I to make it anywhere, to get as many learnings behind me, certificates, qualifications as I could to stead me in good stead for, adult life. So I was a Rotary exchange student to Texas. So I got out of there nice and early at 17, came back to UWA, did a year at uni doing a combined, doing an arts degree, I did a double major in English and Psych. And that year I took Janet Holmes-a-Court sponsored aviation course. So I did 5 flying lessons.
Wow.
And then this ad caught my eye, and it was to apply for the Australian Film and Television School in Sydney for the full-time radio course. And they had, so I did that because I love ads. And it was there, that was in 1985, 86. And it was there I met my husband, James Sutherland. So out of 800 applicants, only 12 were accepted around Australia. I was the only one from WA. And from that, I launched a career in radio. So for 8 years, I was a creative director of capital city radio stations where I wrote ads, directed productions, and I was also a professional voiceover. So I did that working in 2UE in Sydney, 4BK in Brisbane, 3XY in Melbourne, and 6KY here in Perth, but also 94.5. This is years back. Then as I was working, I also finished off my arts degree. So I ticked boxes off there, and it took me 10 years to do my arts degree. And then I decided to do an MBA, and that took me 10 years as well. I think I took the longest, but I just thought, no, I'm working and I want to enjoy this learning. So I'll just do a unit a semester, even though the unis didn't let you do that. Well, they said they didn't, but they did. They were happy for you to continue on and pass. So I had a number of marketing management roles, events marketing, and my last job was with Airlink. I was the marketing manager for Airlink, which was Qantas's largest regional airline. We had 28 ports around Australia, and they all amalgamated in like 2002, I think it was, to become QantasLink. So I left work in 2000, started my own business, which was called Big Fish Solutions back then, and thought I'm going to facilitate marketing strategies with businesses. And what I found is a lot of businesses didn't have their business strategies in order to leverage a marketing strategy off. So then I thought, okay, I've got to go back to square one here, and I've got to do a snapshot of their business strategy, so then I can look at where they're going to get the best bang for their buck and what activity is going to be the best for them profit-wise, and help facilitate a marketing strategy. So moving right along, I was facilitating businesses during the weekdays, and on the weekend I studied energy therapy. And the basis for energy therapy is that we're not just a physical body, but we're also an energetic entity. We're an energetic body. So our energy animates and vitalizes our physical being. So we're not just physical, we're also energetic and emotional. We're not just physical functional, and we're also energetic and emotional. And so during the weekdays, I was facilitating business teams, and on the weekend, I was learning all these ancient energy principles. And I thought, one weekend, I wonder what would happen if I apply these energy principles to business. And when I did, it all sort of fell into place. And I created this model, which I've written my book about, creating brand energy. And I thought, well, it's all very well and good to have a theory, but I need to prove that this works with case studies. So I worked with businesses over 4 years to have case studies in the book. So the case studies are Morrison, the fashion label; Enyo, the cleaning products, the environmentally friendly cleaning products; Faraway Bay, the bush camp, which is a mum and dad run business up in the far north in the Kimberley. Who else have I got in there? Kalis Jewelry. I've got True North, and I feel like
you work with your husband's business, Office Solutions IT, too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. He's not a case study in the book, but yeah, and Boost Juice Bars are also in there. But yes, I've worked with loads of different companies, accounting firms, my husband's IT firm, and they've got 150 team members. So, and they've been following their brand energy blueprint to develop their reputation and their culture within their organisation. So that's it in a nutshell. So I, in 2008, I registered my business name my company called Conscious Business. And when I did, I had a friend in advertising. He said, "Oh no, don't do that. It's too hippie la. It's too far out Brussels sprouts, too incense waving. That's just out there." And I thought about it. I thought, you know what, that's what this process does. It makes you more conscious, more aware of who you are as an organisation, as a business organisation, or as a solopreneur if you're working on your own, whatever your business looks like. It makes you more aware of who you are, and you're more conscious of who you are. So conscious business is about understanding who you are, and my positioning line for conscious business is integrate your truth, because it's about being true to you as a business. So that's me in a nutshell. So I facilitate corporates still. I've just finished a big project and with the HMC Group, who was a fantastic client. They've got 10 businesses in the Kimberley. They've just started a new airline called Nexus that serve regional Western Australia, and they've got a group of 10 tourism and aviation companies under them, and they were coming up with a new corporate brand, which I can't reveal yet, but that's coming, and they've got their great blueprint. And I also do workshops with solopreneurs. So I get a group of around 10 solopreneurs together, and we workshop through their brand energy blueprint and looking to put that process online as well.
Fantastic. Wow, there's so much there, Cath. Starting with I love ads, 10 years doing the MBA, but as you say, energy therapy leading to the energy principles in business.
Yeah.
And so the book, and again, I sat in on some of those individual, you did the brand energy work we did for Lifter, our business networking cooperative. And then also hearing the impact you had on those solo entrepreneur, particularly business coaches, but others are in there as well with medical businesses and other businesses. But let's come back to this brand energy and energy. Let's just deal with energy in the first instance. That whole thing that, when I didn't even know what I was talking about when I said we don't manage people, we manage energy. But of course we manage our own energy as well. And people bring energy to the room. They bring some kind of energy to the room, and it could be positive energy, negative energy, black energy, as in it's a dark, depressive kind of one way, NLP, because a lot of my background is in NLP, and NLP says you cannot not influence. You're going to be influencing one way or another. So your point about conscious business is to consciously influence as distinct from unconsciously influence. And literally right now, I'm about to do some work next week with a team of scientists where the BD team are winning the work and in a very positive way and making a range of promises, and things are going along well. But then when the client meets the scientists, the energy they bring to the room is a completely different energy to the energy of the BD team. And the client has been having a very smooth, positive, optimistic, positive experience. And all of a sudden they hit this wall. So tell me about your energy, brand energy. Give me your insights into this area of energy and consciously radiating an energy that's actually going to be of value to both the client and to the company that's actually looking to grow and generate business. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, the first thought that came to mind when you were talking was Dr. Phil's favorite, famous quote, if you're either contributing or contaminating.
Contributing or contaminating. Hilarious.
Yeah, so as an energy you are. But basically it comes back to everything's energy, my physical body's energy, that this chair that I'm sitting on's energy, everything's energy. It's just vibrating at different frequencies. The lower frequencies are more solid matter, and the higher frequencies, you've got informational energy. You've got the energy that helps make mobile phones not need wires and all sorts of things. You've got the Ethernet. Everything is energy, and the idea behind creating brand energy is actually, and what I said earlier about being true to you and about being conscious of who you are. For example, that scientific organization that you were talking about, if one group, one part of the business has one energy and the other has another part of the energy, the idea is this is what I do, get everyone in the room and go, right, who are we together? Who can we say we are? Because if we're not being true to who we are as an organisation, then yes, there's going to be those, there's going to be those instances where things don't, your expectations aren't met as a client if you see one half and not the other half. So the idea is, well, who are we together, and how can we express that in a way where we're being very consistent in this is who we are. These are our intentions for why we're in business. These are our intentions for how we want to do business. And this is what we do, basically. So if everyone's across your intentions of the whys and the hows, then I can express it my way, you can express it your way, the scientists can express it their way. And the client's getting the same message, but just in different, genuine, authentic ways. And that's where I think the trouble with advertising agencies or creative agencies come in. They go, yeah, I'll brand you as this. And because this is what the customers want, this is what the market wants, and you'll be great if you become this. And it doesn't work because people have got to pretend to be something that they're not. One of my mantras is successful business relies on successful relationships.
Absolutely.
That's one of my mantras. And the first thing you need to understand to have a successful relationship is you need to understand you. You need to understand who you are, because you are the first value of any relationship. Everything starts with you. So if you start with you, and if you're true to you and you offer something, let's just say the equation is you plus relationship equals or doesn't equal business success. So you start with you, who you are, you offer you out into the marketplace and what you're great at as a business, what will happen is you will attract the right relationships for you. When you're being genuine and authentic in who you are and you're offering your best of your best in what you offer, then what you offer comes with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So the plus sign, if you imagine the equation, the plus sign is what you and your relationship mutually relate to.
Yeah.
So that's what relationship means. It means being in a state of relation or having a mutual relationship with something. So start with you, put out what you're great at doing and attract the right clients for you. And then you're in flow, then you're being energized by the same energy. You're attracting the right energy clients for you, for your business, and that equals business success. And that equals long-term business success. So if you were to flip that and do what traditional business and, my uni degree and, my MBA taught me is to find your customer, look for a niche market, find your customer, ask them what they want, give them what they want, right? So if you, in that equation, the equation goes from relationship plus you equals or doesn't equal business success. If you start with your relationship and you ask them, hey, what do you want? And they go, oh, I'd like this, please. And they don't, a lot of the time customers don't know what they want. And it's, you just need to ask my husband who's got this IT company, because they're not experts at what they might need or want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Steve Jobs said just that. The customer didn't know they wanted a fax machine. The customer didn't know they wanted a mobile phone.
Exactly.
The customer it had to be created for them to go, wow, that's fantastic, or it makes my life easy. But they didn't necessarily know that.
Yeah, so the old way of doing business, start with your customer, start with your relationship first. Then you go, okay, what do you want? Okay, I'll give you what you want. So that's the plus in the middle, and that's a Frankenstein version of what you think they might want and what you're good at. And you're also changing who you are to fit in with what you think and they think they might want. Which leaves a lot open to whether the business is successful or not. Yeah. So a lot of people make the assumption that if you give the client what they want, they'll be happy. And that is a big assumption.
Yeah.
And the surest, and it also puts the product before you. You're the last equation of that. So the relationship is product focused or determined by the product rather than you. But if you start with you, they're connecting with you as well. So the relationship's a deeper, stronger one. If you start with the relationship, it's a product determined relationship. So
beautiful.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and not only that, as you say, the customer doesn't necessarily know what they want, and sometimes if you actually give them what they want, it may not be the solution or actually give them the result that they want.
Absolutely.
As you say, it's a Frankenstein version.
Yeah.
So no one's happy, So this whole idea of synchronized energy of you and the business and the client synchronizing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because when you're putting yourself out there, and when you're saying, this is who we are, this is why we do business, this is how we do business, this is what we do, and you've got a strong signal putting that energy out into the marketplace, and everyone in your team is consistently living by those brand energy guidelines with everything they do. Firstly, you hire the right people who feel aligned with who you are anyway. It's just like friendships. Do you want to hang out this weekend? Yeah, sure. Yep, I can align with that. I feel comfortable with that. So firstly, it's a recruitment tool. And then, and then it's, okay, well, to be in sync, to put out a great message out there, a signal out there in the marketplace. This is how we need to operate collectively. So your brand is not just your logo or your name, or your brand is actually your reputation. So every time you step out into the marketplace, everything you do, people are watching.
Yeah.
And everything you do, they'll make judgments. The marketplace is very, very judgy. So if you can go out there, and if every one of you as an organization can go out there and you're consistently being who you say you are, then people will come to trust and respect you. And that's how you create a solid relationship, by being who you are and being consistent in who you are.
Yeah, but we say people like to do business with people they like.
Absolutely.
They say relate, how well we relate to the people. And the moment you walk in the door or even park the car in the car park, there's an energy, there's a presence that you're bringing to that place. I mean, one of my old clients, who I won't mention his name, but I'll call it a Virgo boy, his attention to detail, he would say, I just look out the window, and if the guy gets out of the car and, the car's dirty and, a milk carton blows out or a cigarette packet blows out, I've already formed an opinion before he's even walked in the door, let alone, there's been a situation where a particular fellow came to a meeting with me, which was a disaster, where with this particular guy who doesn't have a hair out of place, and this guy that was at the meeting had buttons undone on his sleeve, his tie wasn't done up right. This other guy just went, there's an energy there before the guy even opens up his mouth. Let alone then, as you say, everything from the written material or the language that's used or the level of positivity or otherwise. And most people are not conscious of that at all, that they're actually bringing an energy to the space. You want to say something, your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. No, it was, people do business with people they like. And everything is energy. And one of the examples I've got in my book is Jill Bolte Taylor. She was a brain scientist who had a massive hemorrhage in the left hemisphere of her brain. So she lost all of her, your left side of your brain looks after your language. She lost all her numbers. She lost her sequencing skills, her organizational skills. She said she just felt like a fluid floating in the universe. And all she had was her right hemisphere, which picked up all the energy cues around you, her creative intuitive center, which picked up all the energy cues. And she said that a lot of people think that we are thinking beings who feel, but biologically we are feeling beings who think. So we feel first, we pick up that energy first, and then we put it into order with our left brain, and we make judgments on that based on our perceptive set and our experiences growing up and how we've developed into the human being that we are with the belief systems that we've got. So all of those belief systems and perceptions are filters that filter our experience, and we see it in a certain way. No one sees the same thing in the same way. So she said that we are feeling creatures who think. So we feel first, we pick up those energy cues first before we make sense of it. And, we've all had those experiences where we, the spirit of a team winning a sporting game, or if you're walking down a dark alley and you go, oh no, this doesn't feel right, and you trust your gut and you back up the truck. So energy is really important. And she said that if she could leave, she made a full recovery, and she said if she could leave one lesson with everyone, it's to be responsible for the energy that you bring. And so it's about, absolutely that, being responsible, because people feel first and then they think.
Then they think. Right.
Yeah. So that's what my brand energy blueprint is all about. It's about, well, who are we and what energy are we bringing to this physical business, which sits in the core of what we do. The model's basically in two bits or three bits. Your physical business sits in the model in the middle, and your physical business creates functional value, but your energy elements which surround that, they create emotional value. And the more emotional value you offer, the more customers are prepared to buy, pay, and be loyal to you. So that's you being you. And, you said like attracts like. And it always, I think everyone's had this experience when they've gone into a favorite coffee shop and everything looks the same, but it doesn't feel the same. And you go, oh, this coffee shop's changed hands. And you can't put your finger on it. Like there's the same things, the same pastries behind the cabinet. But it's got a different vibe. It's got a different energy. So we are feeling beings who think, and we buy based on feelings.
And not only that, you're reminding me, we did a podcast with Simon McGrath, the real estate legend, just the other week. And interestingly, Simon actually ran a coffee shop down in Northbridge called Ted's, which was a huge success. And he literally said, I was ruthless about the music we played and the vibe that we set on certain days of the week. Friday was different than Monday, and even times of the day. So that the vibe, he actually used that term, the vibe and the vibration was different. And then when he sold it to a ex-banker, within a very short period of time, the music changed, the vibe changed, and the business eventually closed down. Same physical location, pretty much the same food and coffee, but as you say, the energy in the place, he was conscious about the energy. Now, taking that a step further, Simon was always in the 0.05% top performers in Perth and even Australia. But he talked about, and this is a couple of things, on the way to a listing appointment, he would be playing AC/DC because that music would get his energy up, he said, getting him the right energy. And then he had a series of affirmations on his car sun visor, which was the last things he said was, something to the effect of, they deserve you, you are incredible value, make sure you ask for the business, and whatever. There was 5 of them, right? So talk about a strategy for conscious energy, conscious business. And one of the reasons, of course, why both of those businesses were incredibly successful, because he was conscious about managing and shaping the energy. Now, of course, that's in a solo business, but of course, once you've got a team, everyone needs to understand that's the energy we want to put out here, folks. Again, everyone needs to be conscious, which is, again, what I'm going to be doing with these scientists of becoming conscious versus them going, well, that's just the way I am. If they don't like me, that's just bad luck. It's like, oh, no. That attitude, of course, is going to be detrimental to not just that person, but the whole business. In other words, you've got a responsibility, as you say, to bring the best energy. I know one of my friends runs a vineyard, and he goes, who has shown up today? What energy is showing up today in this business? So it becomes part of the language. Who's shown up? What energy has shown up today? Which is a pretty useful question, because most people go, what are you talking about? You actually want the concept of conscious energy in the language, in the culture. It becomes, as you say, by talking about it, of course, it becomes conscious. And as you say, you can then take responsibility. There can be coaching about, hey, Mary, and we used to say to retailers, leave your bad attitude at the door before you walk in. You can always pick it up on the way out if you want it, but don't bring it into the store. Very interesting. So in the book, this is a fantastic book. What motivated you to put this book together? Here it is. Turning Your Brand Energy Down and Off comes from, you've got a range of things there. You can't restructure culture if you've burnt people. If you've killed their enthusiasm or commitment, then changing office spaces or putting a few more dollars in their pocket will not unduly affect the culture that exists. Richard Branson, you've got quotes all through this. Turning your brand energy on and up, a list. Yep. Turning your brand energy down and off. Your brand personality sets the look, attitude, and tone and style of your brand energy. Your brand personality, sets the look, attitude, tone, and style of your brand energy and of everything you do. Get the brand right from the start by being honest with yourself about what it is you're offering. So what motivated you to put this incredibly artistic book together?
Well, I had too much going on in my brain.
You had to get it out.
Had to get it out.
Right.
Yeah, and once I did get it out, I was holding on to these ideas because as I was facilitating businesses through the process, like through their business and marketing strategies, I was thinking, every business has the same issues. They all have communication issues, relationship issues. I meant this, and they've got different expectations. Like the same old just gets churned over and over again. And people used to think, oh, can you facilitate my business? Do you understand what I do? But the what people do isn't that special. It's how and why they are doing what they do. And a lot, some businesses, especially in the technical aspects, like you're talking about with your scientists, don't like to hear that because they're very stuck in their scientific ways. But the success of their business is determined by their relationships. So it's that relationship that they've got to come to. I wrote the book because I just had so much in my head I wanted to get down. And as I got it down, more and more came flooding in. I wrote the book and I designed the book magazine style because a lot of the entrepreneurs that I worked with, a lot have got ADHD and they're just running ahead and they've got a team running as fast as they can behind them trying to keep up with all their new ideas and how they're doing things. So they don't have time to read from A to B, A to Z. So I thought, well, let me develop a book that you can read from front cover to back cover, and it takes you on a journey through the whole model, through the process. Or if they don't have time, they can just dip into it like you just did then and get some gems out of it. And it's also visually appealing for them to keep them interested because
absolutely
entrepreneurs, you need to keep them interested. So there's 5 basic elements that you define for your business. Why you do business, you have your global vision, which is your big why, and it's the greater contribution you're wanting to make as a business. So if you could contribute to the change you want to see in the world, what would that be? So you have a big why. Then you have your purpose, which is your personal why. And I wrote this book 10 years ago, so purpose changed meaning over that time. But the meaning for my purpose is, at the end of the day, how do you want the experience of your business to feel to the individual? So how do we want to make our customers feel? And you have different purposes for your different relationships. You'd have a different purpose for your suppliers, a different purpose for your community. So it just starts making you conscious of who you are to your different relationships and helps you being targeted around that so you can have a more successful business. So your 2 whys are your global vision, your big intent, and your purpose, which is your personal intention. Your 2 hows are your values, which guide everything you do. And they're your big how, and your personal how is your brand personality, which you read out. It's your attitude, tone, and style. It's, if you're going to step out into the marketplace, how you dressed, how, what energy you're bringing, how you speaking, what is your brand personality, the attitude, look, and style of everything you do. And then your product is your connection point. It's your personal what are you have different products for your different relationships. You have a product for You might have different products for different customers, but then you've also got a product for your suppliers, for your communities. You look at all your relationships. You've got a power board of connection points where people can connect to. So once you've defined those for your business, your 2 whys, your 2 hows, and your what of business, you can then activate those. And when you put your product out into the marketplace, you make the acquaintance. If people like it, if they're drawn to it, they make the acquaintance. If they're attracted to your brand personality and they go, gee, this seems like a great brand to hang around with, they're aligned with me, they become friends. If they're aligned with your values through what you do and you show them that you're the real deal, they'll come to trust and respect you. So as you're activating the different elements of who you are, you'll encourage deeper relationships. So acquaintance, friendship, trust and respect. When they get to understand your purpose, that you're here to make them feel a certain way, they'll become endeared to you, they'll come to love you. And when you invite them to be part of your greater contribution back to the earth and the planet, when you invite them to be a part of your, big CSR, whatever that might be, they'll become life partners for the life of your business and brand. So they're the outer rings of energy elements that you activate to attract and deepen your relationships with not just your customer, but all of your relationships. Because
right.
You need to have good suppliers as well to, good relationships. It's not just your customer relationships that will determine the success of your business.
Not at all. And not only that, only in the last couple of weeks, we did a podcast on the 80-year study at Harvard, which talked about, what are the predictors of success in people from the graduate class of 1943, 44, 45. And over that 80-year period, what they found is the number one predictor was the ability to develop and maintain warm relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
So number one predictor.
Yeah. So this is a guideline to show you how to go about these things, but also how to activate those. And to come to your point earlier, with the scientists, for example, it's like, this is who we are, express it in your way, which is fine. The customer's getting, as long as you're aligned with it. If you're not aligned with it, then you're not the right person for this business. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Everyone's got to be aligned and then expressing those elements consistently. And these elements are normally, people down, in the old days, in the 80s, they'd be called fluffy and soft. But we're now understanding that these are actually the hardest elements. And this is where businesses get the most price elasticity for their prices, because it might be a simple product, but if you love the brand and want to be a part of the brand and want to assume part of the emotional value of the brand, then that can you could spend thousands and exponentially on a simple product.
No doubt about it. Look at take coffee shops alone. It's essentially the same cup of coffee, but it could be anywhere from $3.50 to $7. The margin, of course, at $7 is way better than at $3.50. And let alone Apple, the people falling at the phone. I mean, I know I've got an Oppo phone and I've got the Apple phone. I'm sure they do roughly the same thing, but I barely use the Oppo thing. Somehow it came down the chute from Vodafone, and I'm literally about to go get another Apple phone. I know I'm going to pay a lot more for it, but I trust it. I connect with it. It works with everything else. And then, of course, just this weekend, we've got the Coldplay concerts in Perth. People are paying hundreds and thousands of dollars to go to those 2 Coldplay concerts. Like I saw this morning on Facebook, 2 tickets at $400 each. A friend of mine at an auction the other night paid $2,000 for 2 tickets. And what are they going for? They're going for the emotional experience. They're going for how Coldplay, how Apple make them feel.
Absolutely. And those Coldplay fans, Coldplay, they're getting thousands of fans. I don't know, was it 16,000?
70,000 will be there. So
70,000 fans. I'm sure they weren't surveyed. I'm sure Coldplay didn't survey them and go, what songs would you like us to sing, on our next album? And what kind of beat would you like? And what would you like? That's a prime example of really popular brands when they just follow who they are and what they're good at. they attract the right, the right customers for them, the right fans for them.
Absolutely. Well, in terms of blueprint, just on that, literally, I have it. I've got it off the internet because I heard the lead singer of Coldplay, Chris Martin, talk about it, that they'd written down, I think it was 10 or 11 principles of what they stood for and what they wanted to do. And those 10 principles have been pretty much their brand energy, a version of brand energy blueprint, so that they're all on the same page. And I can, it's there, it's in a book that I put together. It's just a great example of, let's all get on the same page here of what do we stand for? What are we going to do, not going to do? What kind of experiences do we want to create for people? And they've worked off that blueprint pretty much the whole career. Now, here they are, 270,000 people concerts only in Perth. So in other words, they've created exclusivity rather than, so we're doing a tour around Australia. The government has funded this for people to fly into Perth because they've done the numbers and said commercially, this band is going to drag people from all around the world to Perth for this weekend. And in fact, I just heard the casino, the Crown are paying, I think it's $1,000 or $2,000 a night. What the price of rooms this weekend? Talk about price elasticity. Prices are normally $200. A guy that swam with us this morning from Tasmania said normally we stay at Crown where the rooms are a special price of about $200, but this weekend they've gone up to like $1,000 and more because of brand energy. Great example, Catherine. Let's talk about the commercial aspect, because I'm thinking here as we're talking the concept and the theory and the model. Give me some real examples, and maybe one or two. You don't have to give me the exact numbers, but like the Jenny Craig before and after. Before they dealt with you, what was going on in their business, and then so A, before they dealt with you, and B, after they got brand energy up and brand blueprint, what has happened in that business in terms of the transformation, particularly commercially?
Yeah, well, they've come to realize that brand and culture are two sides of the same coin. If I'm going to use Office Solutions as an example, an IT managed services company in Perth, they went through this process with their team leads, and they came up with their values and their brand energy blueprint, and that became the absolute foundation for their brand and everything they did. But also, and
how many staff did they have when you did that?
About 70.
Right, so they've doubled in size. Since doing that.
Doubled in size. And what it does is it just clears the way. These elements work as a filter for what you allow into your business, and they also work as a filter for what you give as a business or what you produce or offer as a business. So you think of them as little filters. Is this aligned with our global vision? Is this aligned with our values of this, that, and the other? So it can really look at helping an organisation be a lot more effective and efficient. Yep, that's us, that's not us. We do this way, we don't do that. So they've, they've fired clients based on, if clients aren't nice or not the right fit for their people, they've said, well, they're not aligned with these values, or they're not operating in a way that is healthy for our team to go and work with them. So, we'll put them in the graveyard.
And I'm thinking as a process.
So they've said, we're not you're not clients for us. So efficiency, effectiveness, they hire based on these elements. And these elements, what they do is they make the normal subjective things, it's not purple, it's not blue. They make those subjective things objective. So everyone's really has a clear understanding of, okay, as long as I operate in this way, I'm doing the right thing for the business. So people can make decisions and know that it's based, if they're within these guidelines, it's going to be the right decision for the business strategically. So they can, these elements can also provide psychological safety. As long as I know if I'm operating within these guidelines, I'm doing the right thing for the business. It helps them see opportunities. This opportunity wouldn't be right for our business. That's not us. This opportunity is so aligned with who we are. Hey, boss, have you had a look at this? Let's have a look at this. So it's just the general way that these, businesses operate. And once you've got a guideline, once you've got a theme, you can run with it. And once you're in your flow, then you can really refine that flow and purify that flow, and also become a lot more focused in that flow. So you become a lot more potent in who you are and how you're presenting yourself in the marketplace. And that potency sends out a really strong signal to the right relationships for you for business success.
And as you say, flow, if we think of flow, the current, you're going with the flow of the current as distinct from swimming against the current. And I'm sure there's many businesses at times that go, man, why is it so hard? It seems like I'm literally swimming against the current. Well, because they're in the brand energy, the energy, they're not playing to their strength. They're not playing to the energy that they actually have. And of course, as you say, in the 80s or any other time, energy, what the hell, mate? Go hug some trees. But as you say, everything is energy. So, and of course, Enyo as a client, Enyo, we know, is just dominates, and the margins on those products. I mean, my wife's in love with Enyo. I've certainly met the aerobics lady in Perth that's just a sales machine, rolls up in Jeanette in her Mercedes, and she's just talk about brand energy. She's incredible. But let's go a step further. Let's talk about Cath Sutherland here for a second, in terms of Cath Sutherland leading her best life. And in no particular order, let's talk Cath Sutherland and mentors, people who have coached you and mentored you over the years to create the Cath Sutherland of today. Can you think of one or two mentors over that life, and what did they do or say that had an impact on you to be who you are today and make the impact that you have today? Give me an example of some of the mentors or coaching you've had.
I think the major mentors for me are those in the energy spiritual space.
Mm-hmm.
In the business space, when I first started my business, I had a mentor for 10 years, and that lady was very successful in very similar business. She was a solopreneur, and she was a facilitator and would facilitate business and business strategies for different organisation, government and private organisations.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd sit down with her once a month and just, talk about the grey areas of business and what's appropriate to do here. And, because a lot of the time things aren't black and white.
No.
So as a business starting out, and, and people will try things on, what's the right payment, all sorts of things. I've also been a member of Thought Leaders, which has been amazing with Matt.
Is that Matt Church's group?
In Sydney. That's got a lot of entrepreneurial thinkers, and he's got some amazing strategies and models which really fast track your intellectual property and how you put that forward. So that's been fantastic. With him in the background from a business perspective, and monetizing what I do. But the biggest ones, the most, would be my yoga teachers, my energy medicine teacher, and just understanding, the energetic spiritual nature of our life on this planet, basically.
Yeah. And and talking of that, give me a day in the life of Cath Sutherland. What time do you wake up? What do you do in the morning? And what does the day look like in terms of managing your own energy? And then what time do you go to bed? These are things that people don't talk about, but they're clearly essential if we're talking about living our best life. So what does your day look like from wake up time to go to sleep time?
This morning I got up at 5-ish and fed the dogs, and then went to yoga. I do a Mysore practice where I do my own practice with a yogi in the room.
Mm-hmm.
I then finished that practice off with a Kriya Yoga meditation. Kriya Yoga was one of the first yogas that came to the West. It was brought in by Yogananda, who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi. So if you want to go back to the basics of meditation or the very foundations of meditation, highly recommend Kriya Yoga.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy called Michael Singer who wrote The Surrender Experiment.
Yes.
And Untethered Soul. He went from being a yogi to an amazing entrepreneur that is, worth over 6 billion. Doing his Kriya yoga practice. So I do my Kriya yoga practice in the morning. Then I go to a coffee shop, have a chai or a coffee, and I write in my journal. So I do a lot of journal.
You do the journal at the coffee shop too. Karen Monahan, one of the other women, talked about that. Literally, she was writing her future. That's what she's doing in her journal, as in writing the future as a present, real, living vibe. So what do you what do you write in your journal?
Well, I think I'm going to write about something, and then something else comes out.
Okay.
So whether you call it automatic writing or whatever, I just
stream of consciousness, something's coming out of you. Yeah.
Just go with the flow, or I might have had an idea from my meditation that I then explore and just let it flow. So it's a perfect time to journal straight after meditation.
Yes, of course.
Because you're a lot more open. Your mind has been put into the back seat.
Yes.
Another key thing, that I think for life is knowing that your mind is not you.
Yes.
You are not your mind.
Yes.
You are the operator of your mind. So if your mind's going out of control, you've got to, put it in the naughty corner, I guess. So I journal, and then I get ready for work to do whatever I need to do for my clients. I come home, I walk the dogs, give them a walk up and down the park.
Those beautiful Rhodesian Ridgebacks you've got, they're just absolutely, after, I said my brother used to have one, it used to scare the pants off me. And then my brother said, stop being so scared. It'd be those ones of yours are so loving and friendly. They're just a joy to be around, those dogs.
Yeah, they're beautiful. So walk the dogs in the morning, do work, whatever that might be. Develop ideas, write blogs, help clients, and then a walk of the dogs in the afternoon. Or
like who's walking who? The dog. You're walking. They're walking you. I at one stage, James, we walked the dog, and then we walked the dog. I mean, what the hell? You guys seem to be walking the dogs most of the day, but it's it's a beautiful part of the world down there at City Beach.
They get a walk 3 times a day.
Oh, 3 times a day.
Yeah, walk in the morning, walk in the afternoon, and then make dinner. I'm a TV binger, which isn't good. I'm a Netflix binger, which isn't good. But I regularly, I've seen a naturopath for over 20 years. So I also supplement my lifestyle with supplements that I need. I've always been proactive in the health department. Always proactive.
In terms of self-maintenance of your own health, you mean?
Yeah. Go to energy therapists. I go to naturopath. I go to a chiro who's in the energy space. He's not an old crunchy chiro. Really watch what we eat as far as healthy, raw, trying to get more raw, healthy food into our diets. We drink alcohol, but only on the weekends. So that's kind of a typical day, but other days I come home from yoga and meet friends at a coffee shop for a quick coffee before I come back and walk the dogs. We live right near the beach, so mornings can also include a quick swim. But lots of walking, lots of swimming, and now and again I get on a bike and go for a bike ride with James, my husband, who's a mad cyclist. So might be a ride around the river, 50k ride around the river, or So we're very active.
Well, James, I mean, he's incredible. As you said, the mileage he puts in on the bikes, but again, becomes addictive. A bit like me with the swimming, the serotonin and the dopamine you get, let alone the positivity of being in the ecosystem of all those positive people, be it the cyclist group or the swimming group. There's something else besides the physical activity. There's the psychosocial activity of hanging out with great people. Let me go to another thing then. In terms of books that you're reading at the moment, what books have you got around that you're reading at the moment?
I'm reading at the moment Sadhguru's in Engineering, which I love. That's great. He's got some really fun ideas and different ways of looking at things. Like we're a heap of food.
Yeah.
You know, our fear, you know, what we eat, you know, if we eat a banana, it turns into hair, skin, cells, whatever. So
Yeah, human, yeah.
Our physical bodies are actually just a heap of food, which I like the idea of. And, you know, which way's up, because the earth's spinning. So we, you know, even though we're standing up, we might be
I'm
actually
looking up to heaven. Well, you sure you're looking up? Yeah. Depends on where you are on the planet, mate. You could be looking down. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's really interesting with his perspective. I loved Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights.
Yes.
That was fantastic. And I love Shoemaker's Small is Beautiful.
Okay.
That's an old seminal book, I think 1970s. And that's Buddhist economics, and he looks at things really differently. And I think, you know, with globalization and what's happened with social media and all of that, I think that's where my work's important, working with small businesses, because I think small businesses can communitize communities or socialize communities. If we go back to our, you know, local producers and use local and work with local people, we can create a better society than one that's disconnected. We can connect, because social media and our global view and our global shopping is disconnecting us from our neighbours and our local people. So
absolutely, that village vibe. And if you go back, we just talking of Netflix, you may have seen that Blue Zones series, 4-part series, and of course, again, the power of community, the power of family, the power of daily connection with people you care about. It's critical. And so everything, I mean, these days, what we have is older people are lonely going to the GP just to talk to someone.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
we've just come back from, James and I've just come back from walking the Camino de Santiago, 800 to 1,000 Ks across the top of Spain. And, you know, that's what really hits you. Every time you walk into a Spanish village, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, you know, from 4, 5, 6 o'clock, everyone goes out to the square. And so there's kids running around, there's older people sitting down, talking to each other. So every night, people have a social with the whole community in the local square. It's just beautiful. And I think of my 91-year-old mother who, you know, I take out for coffees, and she's still independent living with carers. But, you know, how beautiful would that be, that she could just wander out with her walker and sit on a bench and talk to people and see kids playing of her own accord. And that's where we've lost that community vibe. And it's really important, I think, to try and instill more of that in our community.
Absolutely, and that's a great example of, we say, the forest shapes the tree. You know, the physical environment, be it in our home and particularly communities, where building, and the Italians have the piazzas, the streets all lead to a piazza. As you say, so many of those villages, it leads to the town square, it leads to the piazza. It's a short walk, and bang, everyone's there, and there's social connection. I mean, it's so clever, let alone Indigenous. I mean, my good friend Greg Campbell,
love
700-page book. Right. Yeah. Well, did you? Good. Thank you.
And I've got his book.
Good. Yeah. You got to wade through it. But that whole, again, the Aboriginal people sitting each night around a campfire, talking, telling stories. So, you know, at the end of each day, we're all reconnecting with our past, with our present, with our future as human beings. Mate, I'm glad you enjoyed that podcast. It's amazing. Very deep, very deep. And thanks to Jill Jensen for putting me back in contact with Greg, which is so good. Let me ask a couple of things. A couple of things I've got here. In terms of energy, let's talk the difference between scarcity and fear versus abundance and courage. What are your reactions when I say that? You know, because so often we grow up, or it's triggered in us scarcity and fear versus abundance and courage. And you certainly, you know, you help facilitate me winding up a non-productive business relationship, because we're talking so much about flow. And I said the 3 Fs. F, finance. Is it making money? No. Is it fun? No. And are we in flow, or are we just swimming against the current? And we certainly seem to be swimming. So there were 3 no's. I was like, okay, change it. I mean, you guys didn't even say change it. You rolled your eyes, but really well. It's really, I think it's pretty obviously. So here, scarcity and fear versus abundance and courage. Your thoughts in regard to energy and life there.
Yeah, so scarcity and fear is a lower foundation, a lower frequency, and it's restrictive. It's retraction. It's retractive. Abundance and flow. Did you say
abundance and courage? Abundance and
abundance,
kind of freedom.
Courage,
Yeah.
Love is a higher frequency. It's more expansive. And the idea with meditation is to actually experience something, perceive something through your senses, and for you to hold space between either falling into that fear and grasping onto it, or having space to go, creating that space between something happening and you reacting to it. So it makes you more response able. When you meditate and you create that space.
Response able. I like that. Wow.
Responsible.
Able to respond. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're more in control of your mind, or you're directing your mind, and you go, okay, do I need to be fearful here? What buttons is it pressing in me? Is this logical? Is this the right way to go? Sometimes, fear's a signal that you might be in fear of your life. But fear is used as a weapon these days. It really annoys me and it really surprises me. It really surprised me during COVID how many people really fell into fear could be whipped up, like, that really shocked me. So the idea is to have that space and go, is this logical, and be discerning around that. Do I need to run for my life, or is this just something that's happening over here that's a diversion for what I should be looking at here? Or is this going to serve me in my life? Or if not, isn't it? You can choose. It's your choice. How you live your life is your choice. And those perceptions and beliefs as well determine how that frightening situation is going to land, or how you're going to filter that frightening situation.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's just being present in the fact of, okay, this is happening. This seems really fearful. This seems really frightening. Let me have a think about this. Is this logical? What's really happening here? And to look behind that fear and then make a judgment call from there. Because fear does put you in a lower vibration. And there's all these scientific studies that say that when you're fearful, you're dumb.
Yes.
Your mind doesn't
That's
work.
right.
Your discerning faculties are dulled down and don't work properly. So when you're in that abundant flow, everything's cruisy phase, you're more expansive, your mind is working better. So they say with kids going into exams, if they're fearful, they're gonna lose points because they're not using their full brains to its full potential.
Yes.
So yeah, just being really, really conscious of that, and having disciplines in your life that help you direct yourself in a better way and not fall into fear, and not be so reactionary, doing that action again and being more response able.
Yes, response able. I love that. And of course, what we talk about is creating a gap between stimulus and response. And
absolutely.
And so I've just started the last month with Elliot Smith Vedic meditation and having a mantra, and 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon. And he talks about, as you say, meditation brings you closer to a state of grace, as in things flowing. And as you say, after the meditation, you're in a much calmer state. And the last thing you want is to be making decisions when your sympathetic nervous system, when your fight or flight is like, well, you're like, I mean, I can think of a range of decisions I've made in high fight or flight, which have been very bad decisions, which is the point you make, which Simon McGrath made the other day as well, which you got from the Money in You program with Robert Kiyosaki, is the higher the emotion, the lower the intelligence. The more,
absolutely.
and he was talking about his father So get me down here. I can't make this winder mower work. It's just, I've been trying. It's just terrible. And he goes to his father's place, and the father's screaming and yelling, "That's bloody thing. I've done. That bloody got made in China. It's just terrible." And someone's gone, looked at it calmly and gone, "Hang on, he's trying to wind it the normal way, like let's say clockwise, but because it's one of those whippersnippers, it has to, the thread's the other way."
Right.
So he just turned it counterclockwise and it screwed on. Father, what the hell? And of course, the father realized by going off like a 2-bob watch, he had been thinking completely but from a calm state of mind, it would become obvious. And I'm sure, that's happened to me over the time. So that beauty of creating the space, which meditation does do, the space between stimulus and response. I mean, I can think of it just the other day. I edited a video and the thing came down the wrong way. I'm like, what the hell? And then in my meditation, it was, but hang on, you can easily just change. I went, what the hell? You know, but only in a state of calmness does the solution come. And of course, it's the subconscious or the unconscious mind working as well.
And that's why it's good to have the brand energy blueprint, all the elements. When you are in a high pressure situation, you can fall back on those and go, well, okay, we're being pushed in this direction, but is it aligned with this for us? Is it aligned with that for us? If yes, you can make a quick decision in a high pressure situation. If no, then you're not led emotionally down the wrong track.
Yes, brilliant.
So it's a decision making tool. Yeah,
absolutely. To make good, effective, consistent decisions, which give consistent customer experience.
Something that you've pre-thought about earlier. Sorry,
exactly.
Something that you've strategized and you've worked on, and you've done all the thinking beforehand. So when you need to think quickly, you can with those guidelines. Yeah,
well, my wife is a kindergarten teacher, and they talk about scaffolding, creating a scaffold around which you can make decisions rather than starting with a blank sheet of paper. So, Cath, we've been going for well over an hour now, but I wanted to say before we round up, is there anything we haven't talked about or a topic that you'd like to cover or a question I should ask you before we move to the final stages?
Not really. Just reminding everyone that everything is energy and be responsible for the energy that you bring. And be true to you, because when you're being true to you and expressing who you are, you attract the right people to you to evolve and grow you on this journey of life, basically. So if you're not being true to you, if you're being a little bit of this and a little bit of that for different people, then that will slow down your growth and evolution as a human spiritual being.
Being the best you possibly can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just looking at so many fantastic notes, Cath. As you say, you've come a long way from the 4 brothers and the farm, but as you say, you had to learn early on to be strategic, how to actually outthink, not out muscle.
Yeah.
And everything is energy. The energy principles of business, but we're not just talking energy principles of business, principles of life. As you say, people feel first, and then they think. And who we are together. What is our energy that we want to put out so we give a consistent experience to customers? And folks, get hold. Now, Cath, how do people either get hold of this book or get hold of you?
They can go to my website, consciousbusiness.net.au. Or if you look up Creating Brand Energy, it will probably take you there as well. So send me an email. All my details are on my website. Send me an email and we can connect. And I'm updating my website at the moment, so there's going to be workshops on there in the near future for anyone who wants to do workshops remotely and not in person.
I highly recommend that workshop series. Was it 4 weeks or was it 6 weeks? I can't remember what the journey was. A 6 weeks journey.
Yeah.
Really, the people that did it, and I saw the end result, was absolutely fantastic. And of course, we did it with Lifter as well. But the journey is quite a fantastic journey, right brain and left brain. But as you say, it ends up with that brand energy blueprint. And the alignment of once you've got more than one one person, clearly the solo entrepreneur needs to know what energy to put out there. But then if you're talking about growing a team or having a team, you want everyone on the same page in terms of the energetics of You know, Buckminster Fuller,
Yeah.
synchronized energy, synergy. One plus one is 3. More to the point, we get to 1 plus 1 is 10. That's what happens when the energy and the waves are in synergy, synchronized energy, synchronous as distinct from asynchronous. Hey, this has been a very synergetic experience this morning, Cath. Thank you so much for your time. And
Thanks,
people,
Lee.
My pleasure. And folks, get hold of the book, get hold of Cath. Mate, I look forward to doing a whole lot of other great things with you as we keep moving down the path together, Cath. See you again very soon.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. See you. Bye.